everyone. Welcome to the video podcast series, Lifestyle by Design, Not Default. My name is Margaret Wiltshire, and I am your host for tonight. Our very special guest is a woman that I really admire. She's an absolutely amazing warrior goddess, Christina Martinez.
I
love you. Welcome, Christina. It's an honor to interview you and to have you here live right now on Google Hangout. Thank you so much. How are you?
Oh, Margaret, I am having the time of my life. And thank you so much for having me tonight, because this is a first for me. I've participated being in there and watching others chat. And I remember when you and I first spoke and you said, I'd like to do this sometime. And I am tickled to see it happen. And I can't even tell you, I feel like a little girl on Christmas Eve with something really exciting about to happen. So I want to thank you for the honor of having me on your show, and just for the pleasure of knowing you and your Princess Satya.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So Christina, tonight our very special topic is rising like a phoenix. So if you're rising like a phoenix, you're rising above something that happened. You're rising above some ashes. Could you tell me a little bit about the events that led to the ashes in your life?
The ashes. Okay. So I'm going to give you the short, and then I'm going to fast forward to the major one. Okay. So, and this is for everyone who thinks they have a story, right? So raised by a single mom, who was Mexican in a time where it wasn't cool to be raised by a single Mexican mom, number one. Number two, didn't have a dad who finally, when he showed up around age 15, he was an alcoholic. And if I had 4 sober conversations with him, that was a lot. 3, he died the Sunday night before my finals in college in my senior semester. In the midst of that 4, I was engaged to be married in college, graduated in 3.5 years because I wanted to go back home and be married, and I experienced a betrayal. Okay, and those are little fast forwards in my life. Fast forward to moving to New Jersey, because I am originally from Texas. So Margaret, if I drop a y'all, okay, that's where it comes from.
No problem. No problem at all.
And when I moved here, I met someone, and I had actually made a pact with myself. I didn't like New Jersey so much when I first moved out here. It was just a different world for me, but I decided I would give it 1 year. And I agreed that at the end of the year, if I wasn't still in a place of loving it, I would move on. And in that time frame, I met someone. And the long story short is that we ended up getting married. So the event that led to the rising above the ashes that really has propelled me to amazing things in life and just a beautiful journey of new beginnings was a divorce in 2011. And that was the event that I really was rising through. And if I can share with you, do you ever have a feeling where you've dreaded something? And you're
Yes.
like, oh no, not this again. Okay, so the little voice in me used to tell me on December 31st, and this is several years going back, it would say to me, oh no, not a year of being married to this person again. And I remember that I was afraid of it. I was afraid of looking at that, because, you know, when you get married, you know, I never really had the I guess the model of showing me what a healthy marriage looked like. Okay. So I always wanted that for my life. And when I knew in my spirit that it wasn't there, and believe me, I turned over every stone. I remember thinking, I don't want to do this. You know, I promised myself I was going to make this work. And so what I decided, really, I mean, I was praying. I believe in prayer. I believe in spirituality. And I kept praying for miracles. And I was like making negotiation agreements with the universe. Like, okay, if you work on him, I'll totally work on myself. And I'll just keep, you know, getting my own stuff out of the way. And that was my agreement. And I was holding out for this miracle, right? Like, I don't know, I expected like fairy dust to come in and fix everything. And what I realized was that the miracle was to actually let go. And it was very scary for me because it literally shook the foundation of everything that I had built up to. And the biggest thing was, something that was supposed to be amicable by two adults that agreed that it would be amicable was anything but that. So there was a lot of remnant trauma and emotional, abuse type things that really, really shook me to the core. And the long and the short is that, so I filed for divorce in July. I got divorced in October. I think that's a record for New Jersey, right?
Pretty quick.
And I was in a place where I didn't know what to do. And my rising from the ashes was, I literally felt like someone had kicked me in the stomach, and I wanted to crawl into a little ball and hide in a closet and not come out, because I was trying to just save myself, whatever pieces of me were there. And looking back on it now, it was probably one of the best blessings in my life, because, it didn't feel that way when I was going through it. I love Winston Churchill. He has this quote that says, when you're going through hell, keep going, right? Mm-hmm. And one of my dear friends had said to me, hey, Christina, when you go through this divorce, if you want to get through it quickly, allow yourself to feel the fear. Feel your emotions, and it will move through you quicker. Let it move through you. And being the overachiever that I am, I said, wait a minute. So you're telling me if I just let myself feel this stuff, I'm going to get through it quicker? And my brain went, I can do that. Whatever works. So really what I was doing, Margaret, is, there was a lot of really hurtful, hateful words that were exchanged. And I know that people say things when they're in anger and hurt and pain. And I truly felt like I was having a heart attack, like someone was ripping my heart out and just shredding it. And my self-esteem was really rocked. And for someone who's a pretty confident person, I was surprised at how I had allowed myself to be in that place. And I was surprised at how, even though my spirit had been telling me and nudging me for years to get out, that I was stuck in fear. And so the ashes that I had to rise through was literally shutting up the voice in my head of his words, of, all the put downs and all the ugly stuff that was so hurtful to me and to my spirit, that I needed to find a way to do that. So I decided I think I decided this when I first moved to New Jersey, 19 or so years ago. I saw the New York City Marathon on TV, and I looked at it and I said, that looks like such a cool party to be in, like a moving party, right? And I had filed that away in my mind. And in 2006, which is when I had started my business, I went to a women's networking event, and there was a little Tiffany's crystal ING New York City Marathon paperweight. Okay. And I remember going to the display, and I literally, I knelt down and I stared at that apple. I stared at that crystal apple, and I thought, wow. And it had, engraved somebody's name in their time. And I said to myself, wow, I would really love to get one of these apples. And I'm getting a little choked up, because if you would have told me that I would be running marathons and all this other stuff, I would have probably said, you're crazy. I'm never going to do that. And when we let go of fear, false evidence appearing real, we're able to step into the version of fear that I like, which is face everything and rise, and let our spirit guide us. And so I stared at that apple and I said, I want one. I want an apple. Not the computer, but you know, the paperweight. Well, I want one too. So, by the way, I need a new Apple. If anyone's watching and wants to get me a laptop, I'd love one. Anyway, so what I did is in 2012, I was at a networking event, and a friend, we were all talking about New Year's resolutions, right? And a friend of mine said, so what do you want to do for New Year's? And I said, well, I don't know. I've always wanted to run a marathon. And it just kind of like flew out of my mouth. You know, like sometimes things happen. I don't know if that happens to you, right? Spontaneous verbal messages. And he looked at me. Now, this guy was a veteran marathoner, Frank Morales. And he got in my face. You know, he's Cuban. He got in my face like, you know, Latinos and, you know, East Coast people do. And he said, so what are you waiting for? And I kind of like jumped back and I looked at him, and it's like, I had this little grin on my face, kind of like probably like the one I have now. And I said, what am I waiting for? You're right. And I said, what do I have to do? I have no idea. And P.S. before this, I had run only 2 5Ks in my entire life. Okay. So I want to put it into, you know, perspective for people. And they were more like run walks. Okay. Right?
I know about those.
Right. Let's get real with that. So he said to me, hey, listen, if you're really serious about this thing, I'll coach you. And I looked at him and I said, you would do that for me? And he said, yeah, if you're serious, here's what you need to do. And he gave me the steps, and let's do this. And you can qualify with a 9+1 for 2013. And I was, one of the things I love about rising through the ashes is when you're breaking through fears and beliefs, it's really good to be naive in things.
Okay.
And, because I think when we overthink things, that's where we get stuck. So here's what I knew. I knew that I kept having these voices in my head, and it was really not voices. It was the words of my ex-husband, all the put downs and all the yuck stuff playing in a record player in my head. And I needed a way to shut that voice down. And I decided that I would leave it in the pavement. And so that's that was my rising through the ashes. And well, anyway, that's just like a little piece of it. I don't, gosh, we could go on forever. How long are we doing this for? 10 hours?
No. Within the hour, we'll get it out.
Okay.
So, Christina, here's a question for you. So you're an endurance athlete, and you've done 26 and a half miles as a full marathon?
26.2.
26.2.
Yeah.
Excuse me there. So how did you become a triathlete?
Okay. All right. Okay. So I have to tell you just something in case my best friend from college is watching, Araceli. When I told her I was doing this marathon, right, she said, what is that? How long is that? Like 10 miles? And I said, no, it's 26.2. And she choked, right? She was silent, and she said, she says, you're really, emphasizing the 0.2, and I'm still stuck on the 26. Okay, so here we go. Remember I told you about pushing through fears earlier, right? Mm-hmm. And the year that I was doing the first marathon, which is 2013, I was training for it. I was doing bicycling and my cross training, yoga, you name it. And the town I lived in was celebrating its centennial, and they were doing a triathlon to celebrate it. And
wow.
Right? And I had in the past...
A very active town.
Right. And in the past, I had met someone who had been a triathlete, and prior to that, I never knew any triathletes, right? So anyway, I thought, wait, a triathlon is swimming, biking, And running, I already do the biking and the running. How hard can it be, right? And then I went to go look at the lake. And that lake water really creeped me out. And I had all this stuff going on in my head. So what I would do is I instituted these, I don't know if my arm's length rule, I don't know if you could see the arm's length, right? If someone was in my arm's length, I would say to them, do you swim? And if they would say yes, I would immediately proceed to, do you want to do a relay with me? There's a triathlon and I can bike and I can run, but I need a swimmer. And everyone I encountered said no, they didn't swim. They were afraid of swimming. And, you know, of course, now years later, now I'm in a triathlon group. Shout out to Paramount Multisport. I'm thinking, where were all these people when I was trying to find, you know, a swimmer? Okay. And I'm not kidding you. I would meet random strangers at, you know, at places and just ask them, do you swim? This is how badly I wanted to do this. And so people basically said, you know, no, I don't swim. And so I let my fear get the best of me. And what I decided to do is, I couldn't conquer the thing about swimming. You know, I'd never taken swim lessons, and it was, you know, murky lake water, and I had all this stuff going on. But I did decide that I would go to the event for inspiration for the marathon, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you hang around a bunch of athletes, you know, that stuff is like, I think it's like osmosis. It rubs off on you, right? And I went to the event, and everybody was so charged and excited. And then I left and I was inspired, but I was pissed. Has that ever happened to you?
Yes.
So I was mad at myself. I was mad at the fact that I had allowed that fear to get in my way. And I decided that I would, I wanted to do a triathlon, but I didn't know how, but I was just going to focus on the marathon. Okay. Right? Because that was the goal for 2013. So along comes a little journey to the store called REI. Have you heard of REI?
I have.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I could live in that store. Lord knows. Anyway, so I went to REI and I went to their bulletin where they had, you know, all the happenings in the community. And there was a little postcard. I should have brought it to show it to you. I still have it. And it says, every girl has an iron core.
Nice.
And I looked at that, and it was like someone took a little string and pulled at my heart and said, that's you. Like, if you can make it through this, if you can, you know, you can do anything. And I looked at the postcard, and it said swim, bike, run, and I flipped it over, and you know, it gave the distances, and I went, you know, I swallowed the frog, and then I noticed that it was September 7th, I think, and I had picked up the card like mid or early August is when I was in the store, and I looked at the date, and my birthday is in early September, and I decided that I would give myself that gift of a triathlon for myself for my birthday. So that was like my happy birthday to me, right? Like most women, right? They buy pocketbooks, they go to the spa. Me, I'm going to give myself a triathlon for my birthday.
Wow. Pretty amazing gift there. Talk about raising the bar.
Yeah, so that's how I got involved in triathlon. And basically in a month's time, I signed up for swim lessons, and I was like, the first time I went swimming, it was like I couldn't breathe. I forgot to breathe, you know, my lungs were screaming at me. And I was thinking, well, you know, why am I doing this? And I'm like, oh, that's right. Happy birthday to me, right? And I did it. So I went to the Iron Girl Sandy Hook Triathlon, which is a sprint distance. And I was in, you know, it's an all women's race. And it was the most amazing feeling of sisterhood and women supporting each other. And it doesn't matter, you know, what you look like, how much you weigh, how tall you are, what color your skin is, just all these ladies just doing their thing. And I remember the day that we did it, everybody said, oh, it'll be great. Sandy Hook Bay is so calm, right? The day of, there were gusting 20-mile-an-hour winds, and the calm waters were white capping.
Mm.
So after swallowing a lot of...
Happy birthday
yeah.
to you.
Yes. After swallowing a lot of white water, and finally making it to land and finishing, I thought, wow. I mean, talk about busting through, limiting beliefs. And just to tell you something, I'm getting on the camera a little bit fuzzy, so I'm not really sure what's happening, but I'm hoping that's going to clear up. And I'm hoping that you can see me okay.
Yes,
but that,
I
that
can
was,
see you. I can hear you.
Okay. So that was the entry into the triathlon world, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the spirit of triathletes. I fell in love with challenging my body and my mind to do something that I didn't think was possible, and finding out that I could do it. And if I could do that, what more could I do? And who else could I bring along the journey? Because I believe that when we're moving through in life and rising through those ashes, that we need to pull other people up with us. That's my belief. So there's my long and the short of the triathlon world.
So, Christina, you went through a horrific experience that took a lot from you. It drained you. It drained you emotionally and spiritually, which was your divorce. It was a turning point for you in your life. And during this time, when you decided that it was time to heal, to feel the pain so that you can get through it quicker based on the recommendation of your friend, you discovered marathons, endurance performance endurance sports. I'm not sure of the label, but endurance sports. And you went from marathons to triathlons. Can you tell me a little bit about what was happening internally in you? What motivated you? What was it that, what was it in you that you came to this point where you decided, I'm going to take action, I'm going to motivate myself, and I'm going to do this every day? I'm curious as to what was happening inside of your mind.
Okay, so obviously it's not a secret that I'm Latina, right? And I think, women, Latinos, Latinas, we come with a lot of fire in our spirit. And what happened was that voice, all that ugly stuff, telling me that I wasn't good enough, that I would never do this or never do that, right? All those hateful words. Actually, what they did is they ignited a fire in me. And that's where, the fire was literally lit. And the fire was a fire of anger in me of, how number one, nobody gets to talk to me like that. And, and number two, why am I believing this BS, right? And number three, that is not my story. That is somebody else's truth. That is not mine. And so what I did, Margaret, is I literally, I still remember this. I became a member of New York Roadrunners late January and early February. I think like 2 days after my registration, I bought my tennis shoes. And in February in New Jersey, as you know, it's really cold. But what I decided was when I laced up, I was lacing up and I said to myself, this is for all my sisters. And I'm getting teary-eyed because I think as women, and I know there's men on this call, but you won't understand this unless you're a woman. We need to, girls put each other down and women lift each other up. Mm-hmm. And I decided that I was going to do this marathon and run these miles, walk them, crawl them, whatever I needed to do for every sister woman that had ever been told that she was less than, not good enough, that she wouldn't finish anything. And I decided that I was going to shut up that voice for good for everyone. And that was my motivation. And I decided too that, you know, when I didn't look at the, oh my gosh, 26.2 miles. What I knew was that my body had done 5Ks, two 5Ks before, which is 3.1 miles. And so in my mind, my mindset said, okay, you made it through a 5K. So that's just like, you just have to do 8 of them, or a little bit, you know, between 8 and 9 of them. And in one day, you know, you just have to do that and get through it. And of course, I had a lot of wise guy friends who would be like, yeah, but you know, you have to do it all in one day, Christina, you know, but I wouldn't let my mind do that. So my mind was only thinking about, I'm doing it for my sisters, number one. Number two, I have already crossed the finish line, and I crossed that finish line thousands of times before I officially did it on November 2nd, you know, 2013, I think was the date. I had already seen it in my mind.
Good for you.
The other thing that was going through my mind was, how do I help others recognize that you don't have to get stuck in the story? How do I help other people see that there is this greatness? You know, Tony Robbins calls it unleashing the power within. You know, how do I help others see that there is this immense power inside you? And if you just love yourself enough to say, I'm done with the story and I want to play full out, that your life just transforms. And I decided that I was going to do whatever it took, and I would let my life be an example of how other people could rise through the ashes.
Were there any particular tools that you used to help you rise like a phoenix?
Yes. Okay. So, I mean, you know this, right? So I play, and I say play because it's like play for me, in the world of clinical aromatherapy and essential oils. And what essential oils do is they actually have a vibrational frequency from the plant kingdom. And every oil vibrates at a certain level. It's quantum physics, right? Quantum physics says that everything has a vibrational hertz. Our words, our feelings, our moods, the colors that we wear, and so do essential oils. So what I literally did, and I just, you know, I actually, in front of me, I pulled a few of what were my solid ones, okay? So I would wake up in the morning and I would say a little meditative prayer. And one of the things that I would say is, if I can share this with you, I would say, I am one with the divine. I do my all for the divine. The divine does its all for me. I know who I am. And that's a prayer that was taught to me by one of my mentors, Sue Pellicati, or Mama Sue, as we call her. And I would say that as a mantra to anchor myself and my strength, to remind myself of, when you say, I know who I am, it's the inner spirit in you that already knows everything it needs to know, and it knows how amazing and powerful you already are. And so what I would do is I literally would pull, okay, number one, I don't know if you can see this, but this is forgiveness oil, okay?
Okay.
It is a blend. And I had a lot of anger in me. You know, I don't know if you can relate or if people out there can relate, being angry about, you know, angry at others or angry. I was really mad at myself. So what I would do literally is I would open this bottle, right? And I would drop it in my hand. And in Eastern medicine, there are different meridians or chakra points or areas in our body that correspond to, you know, emotions. Mm-hmm. So what I would do is I would literally, you know, circle it 3 times, and I would come over here and find the area that covers where my liver is. So I'm over here in the bottom right rib here, and I would put it over my heart. And then I would literally do this, and I would inhale it. And as I was inhaling the scent of forgiveness, I would say, I forgive. And I would, you know, I would say, I forgive, you know, Sam, who's my ex. And I forgive, you know, the litany of people that were involved in this. And then I would forgive myself. I forgive, you know, I forgive my father. I forgive my mother. I forgive myself for allowing myself staying, you know, that long. And I went through that whole thing. And then I would pull this oil called Valor. Valor is, you know, it just, I don't know, it supports you so that you feel, you know, rocking, you know, and I would put it, like, I don't know if you could see, but on my wrists. And I would literally just kind of hold it, and I would let it balance my energy. Because, you know, when we've been through traumas in life, it can really shake our core, and we feel frenetic. You know, sometimes people get nervous or antsy, or they can't, you know, they have a hard time focusing. And so this is what I did. So I would do Valor. I would take something called Harmony. And I'm literally walking through exactly what I did. I would drop it on the crown of my head and on the soles of my feet to help balance me. Because let me tell you something. When you feel like the rug has been pulled from underneath you, even though you knew that was coming and your spirit said you got to do it, at some point you have to face it. And the part where you face it, you know, for me, that was the most difficult part. So my ritual, my tools that I used were my Young Living essential oils. Every single day, twice a day, when I would wake up in the morning before my head hit the pillow, and I would inhale them and diffuse them by my bedside. And what that did is that helped me relax me. It helped balance my, you know, my energetic system. It helped balance my emotional system. And it boosted my energy and gave me more vitality. And can I tell you, without that, I don't think I would have made it as quickly through the process as, in fact, no, I don't think, I know that I wouldn't have made it as quickly through that process, because I've met other people that have been through that, and I always say, like, I have some tools, I'm open to sharing. You know, I believe in sharing the love, right? Some people kind of, they find a tool and they hoard the knowledge or the information because, you know, oh, you know, what will people think of me? Or, you know, oh, nobody should know this but me. And I don't believe in that. I believe that if you find something that works for you, that you share it with others. And if it can help somebody else in their journey, then I'm all for it. Okay. Those are some of my tools.
Those are amazing tools.
I wish I could pass them on to you, but here you go. Everybody can smell virtually.
Feeling the energies balancing already. So, you are such an inspiration to so many people, including myself.
Oh, Margaret, thank you.
Part of transforming your life?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the full question.
Oh, can you tell me what was the most difficult part for you about transforming your life?
Yes. And I thought about this question for a while, and just, how do I help other people? For me, the most difficult part was turning off the record player of beliefs, attitudes, you know, even people, you know, but I mean, not really people so much, because I'm pretty good about setting boundaries, but it was shutting off the voice that said, you're not good enough, you failed, how come you couldn't make it work? You know, which these would be stories, you know, that my family, you know, might have said. Some of my family was extremely supportive, but, you know, nobody wants to hear the message, you know, I'm getting divorced. And it was me finally getting that I love me enough, and I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I mean it in a very compassionate, kind way, to say that I love myself enough to start positively talking about myself. And instead of saying, you know, how come you couldn't do this? Why did you fail at that? And, you know, you're messed up in that area, and, you know, oh gosh, you know, how come you haven't figured this out? I decided, it literally was a decision away. I decided, enough, Christina, you've already been through enough pain, and no more. And that's, you know, that was the toughest part for me, because, you know, growing up, okay, I grew up raised by my mom, who, Mexican moms, I don't know about your mom and your culture, but Mexican moms can like lay a guilt trip on you like nobody's business, right? I've heard Italian moms can do that too, right?
Caribbean moms can too.
There you go, right? Caribbean moms, Jewish moms, I heard they've got a rap, right? So I just, oh man, and as someone who likes to do well at things, to actually accept that I had to let this go, and that it didn't mean that I failed. It just meant, what? That was meant to be in that period in my life, and now it's over. It doesn't, my soul, my spirit is moving on to something else, and I need to let that go. And that was for me the toughest part, to let it go.
Okay. Christina, you also do something that's we didn't talk about yet. That's very impressive to me. You are the only female pilot that I personally know. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got into flying airplanes?
Oh gosh. Okay. Now we're really going to talk for days. No. Okay. No. So I'm kidding. By the way, thank you. I love talking with you here, and whoever else is joining us, thank you for being in this.
We have quite a few people on, actually.
Okay. So how did I do this flying thing? So very quickly, when I moved from Jersey to here, I had a neighbor who was a retired Air Force colonel, Skip. And Skip was like my granddad. We were neighbors for almost 2 years. And he said to me, I'm going to give you a bon voyage you will never forget. And I said, oh, okay, thank you. And he said, I'm going to take you to Corpus Christi, Mustang Island. I lived in San Antonio before. And I was like, yes, Mustang Island. Woo! I'm going to the beach. By the way, in Texas, it's called the beach. I don't know why in Jersey it's the shore, but Texas, we call it a beach. And why do you go down the shore? Forget it. Okay, that's a different conversation. So we hop into his sports car. This is Skip, right? He had a sports car, and he proceeds to drive his car northbound. And I looked at him and I said, you're driving the wrong way. The beach is south. We should be driving southbound. And he said, oh no, I'm going to my hangar. And my jaw dropped. And I said, hangar? I said, how could we be neighbors for almost 2 years and me not know that you flew a plane? Like, where have I been living, in a shoe? And he had a Mooney airplane, which a Mooney is, I guess if I could describe it for people, it's like a Lamborghini with wheels, with wings. And we hopped into his plane. I say we, my best friend from college was with me, and we got on this plane, and when we finally came to the shorelines, there was it was like one of those beautiful days where it's beautiful blue skies and that one little puffy cloud where the sun rays are peeking through it. And he said, I looked at it, he says, do you want to fly the plane? And I said, I can do that? It's not like driving a car. You don't turn to someone and say, do you want to drive the car? And he said, yeah, you can do that. He said, you can even climb towards the cloud, but you can't go through it. And he said, go ahead. And I put my hands on the yoke. And I get goosebumps to this day, because the moment I did that, it's like I felt a surge of energy everywhere in my body. And I thought, where has this been my whole life? And when I was a little girl in Texas, I used to lie down on the grass and look up at the plains, and I would make stories about where I was traveling. I'm now going here, and who am I going to meet? And that's how I got started in flying. And, fast forward to then I finally moved here, and I actually am going to credit this gift to my former spouse. So, thank you for that. As a wedding gift, he gifted me a Jeppesen flight instruction manual and pilot kit. And then I started my flight lessons, and they've been a kind of slow, painful route. I actually still have a student pilot ticket, which I need to finish and get a private pilot. I have soloed already. So I've soloed at towered and non-towered airports. And in the aviation world, once you solo an airplane, you earn the right to be called a pilot. And I love it there. So we got to go flying. We've done the running thing together. We need to go flying now.
Yes. I'm getting goosebumps, as you're saying that. I think it's absolutely amazing. But Christina, even you just told the story about as a child looking up at the sky and, you know, imagining, and I mean, it's almost like you were somewhat prophesizing your future here. And there you are, the yoke is being given to you, and you take it. You freely take it and you embrace that. That's a lot to be said. I probably would have freaked out and be like, heck no. But that's an amazing thing, you know. I congratulate you for that.
Thank you. And you know what? I want to say something because I know you're a single mom, okay? And I have tremendous respect for single mothers because I credit that courage, or that building your a courageous child. I think it's in the spirit, but it also needs to be supported. And I'm blessed to have a mother, Guadalupe. I love you, Mom. Even though she's not watching, I still love you, right? I'm blessed to have a mom that when I was a little girl, she raised me to not be afraid of things. You know, if it was dark, she would say, it's okay, you can go walk in the dark. Nobody's going to get you. Just go, you're safe. And she always encouraged me to do new things. And as much as she didn't like me climbing and exploring, she wouldn't say no. She would say, just do it. If you think you can do it and you see yourself doing it, do it. And I'm grateful for that.
That's amazing. Give it up to Guadalupe.
Yes.
Single moms rock.
Yes.
It's one of the toughest jobs in the world, but it's
Amen.
actually one of the most rewarding jobs in the world. You know, there's nothing like it, nothing at all. And it's 24/7.
No kidding, man. You sign up for life on that one.
You sure do. You sure do. So I would like you to tell me a little bit about love versus fear.
Mm-hmm. So love versus fear. And I've been thinking about this. You know, I'm working on a book right now. And as I reflect back on my life, I see that we can either approach life from love or fear. And when we are in love, we take risks. When we are in love, we say yes to things. We bring people along the journey. We are kind and compassionate to ourselves, to others, and we're able to explore places that seemed maybe in the past unsurmountable. And I do want to say something, you know, if anybody's watching here, I know I tell people, if you want to transform your life, you know, run a marathon or do a triathlon. I was, quote, never an athlete. So if you don't have to be born with an athletic build or a body. What you need is a spirit and a heart, and to be able to commit to the discipline of it, to do it. And I'm not, you know, I'm a back of the pack person. Okay. And I'm okay with that. I have goals for this year's marathon, but the thing is to just do it. So back to what you were saying about love versus fear. So when you're in love, for instance, in leadership, right? For instance, at work, you delegate things to people. You let people explore through their creativity solutions. You're more open and embracing of ideas. You embrace cultures, diversity, and you're freely walking through life embracing. When you're in fear, you hold back. You withdraw. You hang on to things longer than you should have, right? You hoard information. You don't take that next step because you think of the voices, you know, what will they say? You know, first of all, the committee, tell the committee in your head to screw off. Because unless you invite them to the meeting, they're not welcome, number one. Number two, those people are too busy worrying about what's going on in their own life. So please stop thinking about what other people are thinking about, because they're too busy worried about their own life, right? So
right.
When you're in fear, you get stagnant and stuck because you're worried about what are the neighbors going to think? What are my parents going to think? You know, gosh, what am I going to think of myself? And you get stuck and you miss out on life and opportunities, and you miss the beauty of who you are and the reason why you were brought into this world. And the challenge for us lies in being in a place of consciously choosing love and looking at what our intent is and affirming that. And, you know, I'm pretty intense and passionate about how I feel about things. And I know to some people it might be like, whoa, dial it down. But you know what? I come from a place of love. And when you're as a leader, you need to take risks. You know, Tony Robbins talks about the 6 basic human needs, right? And the lowest need is the need for certainty. When you're stuck in certainty and you have to control everything and you need to know exactly how everything's going to play out, you don't do anything different. You get stuck in the rut. That's functioning from fear. When you're in love, you're able to, you know, work your way through things like growth and connection with others, because you're able to take a risk and see what's out there. And you know, you never know what your spirit will bring you to do. And more importantly, what I really love is when people see what you've done and they go, I think I can do this. And that's, you know, when I talk about love versus fear and the challenge that lies before us, the challenge is to choose love and to be love. And, you know, if I shared with you my story as a child, you know, that would be another Google Hangout. I have a lot of, quote, reasons why I should have or could have chosen fear. And I've decided to choose love. And I've decided to create a space for others to choose love so that they can show up as the best version of themselves, because we all deserve that. We deserve it for ourselves. The world deserves to have the best of us, and our children deserve the best. But, you know, with all of that aside, that's like external stuff. You deserve the best of you.
Okay. So you are a leader in your life and also in the things you do at work, in your career, in your business. You have your own business. Can you tell me how that plays into leadership? And do you find being in a leadership role intimidating?
So I know you're not going to believe this, but when I was a kid, at some point, I was shy. Okay.
No, I don't believe that for 1 second.
I don't find leadership intimidating. Sometimes it can be overwhelming when I allow myself to think of everything all at once instead of breaking things down to small steps, right? But intimidating, no. I've decided, you know, leadership is something that has followed me since I was a little girl. And, you know, I asked my mom, you know, what kind of little girl was I? And, you know, she says, well, you always spoke your mind. You always knew what you wanted. And you always took charge. Like, that was you. If people didn't know, you know, if nobody knew what they were going to play, you told everyone, here's what we're going to play, you know, let's do that. Kind of like Satya, right? I think, you know, that's one of the reasons why I love her so much. Satya is her adorable little girl, everyone. And I just learned to embrace it. And you know what? The biggest thing I've learned about leadership is you just got to be yourself. You know, when I first moved out here, I was in the financial services industry, male-dominated industry. I used to, way back then, dress in my slacks, Brooks Brothers, you know, cufflink shirt. I wore cufflinks, for crying out loud. I'm a woman. What am I doing wearing cufflinks? Okay. You know, and not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but I was trying to be a mold of somebody else's version of what a leader needs to look like. And I've decided that as leaders, we need to embrace who we are and be our most authentic, beautiful self, and stop trying to be a pretend version or a female version or a male version or a Latino version or a whatever color version of someone else. We just need to show up as ourselves.
That is so, it's so true. I mean, most of us spend our life, we can go through a lifetime living somebody else's dream for us. And we operate on autopilot. We don't even know that we're doing it. We're not even conscious or awake to the fact that we are not being our authentic selves. You know, dying is a bit morbid. Dying to our old selves is a bit morbid. Do you think that people are afraid of death?
So, you're gonna laugh, but when I was at an event not too long ago, and it was a transformational event with a friend of mine. Shout out to Mike Aguliaro and Jennifer Aguliaro. I love you. Anyway, we reflected, and I said, I literally said, tonight I am going to die. And I recognized that when I said that, I frightened a few people. I could see that in their energy. It was like, woo, this woman's going to die tonight. And I think people, I'll tell you what I think is up with that. I believe that some people, or I'm not afraid to die. And I say that openly because death is just a continuation of life in a different manner. So I believe that your spirit lives on, and you're just, your physical body checks out, differently, and your spirit lives on. And I think people are afraid of death because they're either doubting that they haven't lived their purpose, or that there's going to be a nothingness on the other side. And, as a phoenix, today's talk is about how to rise like a phoenix. In order to rise like a phoenix, the myth of the phoenix is that you must die. You actually burn up, right? And it's also associated with the sun and the light, right? So death is actually a form of light, a new beginning. And wow, I just got massive goosebumps, like they're shooting down, up and down right now. And when you choose to die, I had to die to my old self. I had to die to the stories I was telling myself. I had to die to the Christina that was over 200 pounds and was at her, most heaviest in her life and felt like the worst. I had to die to that old self in order to create a new beginning and come to where I am right now. So I believe, I think that death is actually to be embraced in this sense, that you do need to die to that self, and you do need to let it go, because there's an even more amazing version of you on the other side of that.
That's pretty powerful. Wow. I'm here thinking about that. It's pretty deep, Christina. It's one of those things that you hear, it's so profound, and you just need to kind of like reflect and take it in. It's pretty powerful. And tell me, how do you know when you are ready to step into love?
So for me, right, I can't speak for everyone else. I can only speak for me. I know you're ready for love when your spirit is playful, when you're willing to just, try new things. And if you know me, I don't like the word try. It's do or do not. There is no try. But what I mean is that when you're willing to just say, what if I do this skiing thing? What's the worst that can happen? Well, death. Okay, if I'm not safe, you could break something if you're not safe, or I could have the time of my life, right? And I think that you're ready, you're ready for love when you finally decide that whatever stories you've been telling yourself of why you're not good enough, or not pretty enough, or not strong enough, or fast enough, or whatever enough, that you decide that that's all bullshit, and that the truth of who you are is this most amazing being, and that it's time that you love that person. And I think that's when you know that you're in love. And when you're also in a place where you see other people and you know that they're in that journey, and that you recognize that, and you can say, hey, listen, I've been through that dark tunnel and I can show you a way out. You're going to have to do the work. I'll be happy to show you and guide you. And we can experience the beauty of being, quote, in love together.
Wow. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to be in. And I believe that when you feel that magic, when you feel the love, you are in alignment with your core, and you are on purpose, and you are doing the things that you are meant to do. And it's a beautiful space to be in, and your cup is full, and you can really share and be genuinely happy
Yes.
for others and help others. And it's just a beautiful place to be. And I've experienced that. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
Christina, you are also a fire walker.
Ah!
Can you tell me a bit about your fire walking experience?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to have to talk quickly, right? Okay. So, first, I want to honor and recognize Mike and Jennifer Gugliaro, who without them, I would have never experienced fire walking. So my first and all of my encounters in fire walking, save for the one with Tony Robbins, have been with Mike and Jennifer. And basically, Mike, was having a fire walk, an empowerment thing, and my former spouse kept the first one from me. And then one day when you realize that, I like variety in life, hello, like how you don't know that about me is beyond me. And he said, okay, so a friend of mine invited me to this fire walk thing. Do you want to go? And I looked at him, I said, yeah, I want to go. And it didn't, there's the naive thing. I didn't really think about having to walk over hot burning coals. I was like, I just wanted to go for the experience. I wanted to live it. And the first one I was at, it was a little chilly out. And I remember, we learned differently. So I learned through Mike that you ask the fire permission and you have a talk with the fire and ask the fire if it's okay to walk, and you listen and you honor it, and you go in, quiet, and sometimes we chant, sometimes we don't. And I remember there was a full moon that night, and it's just been some really pretty powerful transformations. And my first fire walk, I just remember that I held my hands kind of, like this, and I looked up at the heavens. And back then I was just thinking of all the things I wanted to let go of. And at the time, I thought that fire walk was going to bring me closer to my former spouse. And I walked the coals. And then, after the divorce happened, Mike and Jennifer were really kind and generous and loving towards me, and knew that, we're soul family. So they would invite me over and we would do more fire walking. And it wasn't until March 2015 with you beautiful souls of UPW that I experienced what it's like to fire walk with 7,000 of the most beautiful people on this earth.
Wow. That was a powerful, powerful, powerful event. I remember when I crossed the fire, I did not know I knew so much profanity. I mean, I felt liberated. I was jumping all over my poor accountability partner, because literally like 5 minutes before, in the pitch black, I was saying to myself, I can dodge her. Like, there's so many people here. It's pitch black. I can get away and just tell her something, and I probably would never see her again with all these people here. But there was something about, like, my mind kept fighting, but there was something about my body that kept going. I mean, it wasn't even my turn to take off my shoes, and I was taking off my shoes, and like the chanting. And then I remembered, like, all I remembered was somebody saying, you can stop now. And when I realized that I had crossed that fire, I jumped on this poor woman, and I was like just cussing up a storm, but I felt free. I was like, oh my God. It was like, I describe it as this Margaret that was encased in a metal shell, and it cracked open, and this butterfly, or, this trapped soul was allowed to be free and express herself. Like, that's literally the metaphor. That's the visual that came to me also, that she had been freed because she dared to do something that she probably normally would not have done. And I really pushed myself, and I said, you know what? 5,000 people probably just did this. They're not hurt. The firefighters are inside. I don't see them rushing. They're like chilling. Go ahead. Why not? And I stepped up and made my move, and you know what? Some of that bullshit I'd been telling myself just burned in the flames.
Right.
So no, I
So,
know exactly what you're talking about.
so Margaret, you chose love that night.
Yeah.
Fear was
I chose.
screaming at you and you chose love. And those beautiful feet of yours chose love. And they said, whatever's happening up there that she thinks she can check out on her account. By the way, I didn't have an accountability partner. Mine checked
Okay.
out. So I was flying solo. And I realized that, you know what? I had been through fire walks before with Mike and Jennifer, and I could totally do it. And I want to commend you for choosing love, because that's what you did that night. You chose love. And I love enjoying how you just retold that story, because your spirit, I could see your butterfly just flying. So thank you for choosing love.
Thank you. And I'm going to shout out my accountability partner, Carrie Zumas, who
Yay.
clutched me. She actually held me close. She held me pretty close. And, you know, as I learned the next day, she had done the fire walk previously a few years before, and her foot was hurting her. But I had all these questions when she told me that she crossed the fire. And she was like, oh my God, now I have to walk because this poor girl, you know, so that's why she walked. You know, she walked because of me. And it wasn't until the next day we saw each other again and she revealed that. So I think it was meant to happen that way, you know?
You were her angel, and you showed her what love was, because she had to show up in love in order to support you to walk that fire.
Yeah, that was pretty powerful.
Neat.
So we're talking about all of this, which has a lot to do with spirituality. You know, tell me a little bit about your spirituality, and tell me how your spirituality plays into your leadership role in your life.
So I always believe this, that, you know, whenever I talk, or I do keynote speaking as well, or workshops, whether I'm coaching, keynoting, or doing a workshop, I always say a prayer in advance to the people that I'm going to be with. And I always just affirm that I'm a vessel. So I'm here in this physical body, and universe, God, Buddha, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter what name it is. The point is that I'm here to be a vessel, and I ask that whatever message needs to be heard in that moment is what comes out of my mouth. And I also just ask and claim that I have the time of my life, and that we all have the time of our life. And so part of my spirituality, you know, I am actually, I don't think many people know this. So I am an ordained minister through the Light Wing Center with Reverend Nancy and Dick Weber, who are the founders. So shout out to them. I love them dearly. And I borrow bits and pieces, right? So Buddhism taught me and continues to teach me how to be still within myself, and how to embrace compassion more for others. And I believe in love and nature, and knowing that Lao Tzu, I think, says you belong to me as I belong to you. And I believe in truly being kind to each other. And I believe in being kind to the planet and nature and animals. You know, I believe in God. I believe in a creator, whatever you want to call it. I call it spirit, universe. Sometimes I just wake up and go, hi, God, you know, or like when I'm doing something silly, like it's me when I'm running marathons or I'm in the park, I'm like, we're doing this. I'm doing this for you because you want to know what it feels like to run a marathon, right? So I think it's important that we embrace whatever that, you know, higher part is for us to show up as a really great version. And I'm very clear, Margaret, that I am here on this planet for a purpose. And I felt that since I was a little girl. When I would be out in the backyard and I'd look up at the stars, I always felt that I was here for something greater. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And I think that people need to embrace their spirituality or explore something, whatever it is. Just, you know, get in touch with you.
Yeah, I agree with you. Mm-hmm. And you are here for a purpose.
Yes.
Imagine that little girl who laid on the Texas grass staring up at night. How many lives have you touched? You've touched my life in a large way, You know, you inspire me every day. I see your post on Facebook. You're running. You run with bears, you know?
It's my animal totem.
You know? So, Christina, this is totally has been amazing. I'm so honored to have you here. And you actually have 3 special offers that you are offering tonight. I see some questions already in the chat room, but I'll let everyone know that you have 3 fabulous offers. One of them is a free 30-minute consultation on how to use the right tools for high performance, whether it's leadership, endurance training, life, and/or stress management. The other 2 also, guess, you can mark your calendars for 2 special events, and I'll put this in the chat box. Wednesday, September 30th at 8 p.m., you are doing a webinar. You'll have a webinar, or you're hosting a webinar, not doing a webinar, excuse me, on high performance tools for endurance. And Saturday, the 14th of November, Phoenix Transformation, Leadership Endurance Essentials. And that's going to be a live event in New Jersey. And the special promo code to receive 10% off is Margaret Hangout. Woo-hoo! So when you register for that, you put Margaret Hangout and you will save 10%. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about those, Christina, before we go to the questions.
Right. So quickly, the event that I'm having, the webinar on high performance tools for endurance athletes is something that, look, okay, you're a member of UPW Legendary Endurance Athletes. And there are many people that say, I want to do a 5K, a 10K, or whatever. And people who have the limiting belief that I'm not good enough to call myself a legendary endurance athlete, I love you enough to tell you to quit the bullshit story and marry the truth of who you are. Okay, that's to quote Tony Robbins. And so I want to give back to viewers and to the community and share with them some powerful tools that help me in my endurance journey. And I'm going to invite also some other people that I've worked with on this journey so that they can share what we can use and what's helped us with, you know, pre and post recovery. How do we work on our mindset? You know, what about our physical care? What works, what doesn't work? And that's going to be, you know, right sort of on the stepping on the tails of the New York City Marathon, which is coming up November 1st. I want to give a shout out to Tiffany Pierce, who decided she's going to do the marathon. So, woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. So that is all about, you know, helping people and high performance tools for endurance athletes. If you are not, or you don't consider yourself an endurance athlete, cut the bullshit story. Okay. Show up anyway. Send somebody there, show up.
I'm going to show up for that.
Wonderful.
You know, I'm definitely going to be on for that.
Fantastic.
Okay.
And
did you want to talk?
The other one, just real quick, yes, the live event. So that's Saturday, November 14th. That's going to be an event where we will together transform like a phoenix. So I'm going to cover some high performance leadership essentials, you know, things like communication, mindset, belief system, and how do we lead from the inside out? Because professional success, professional, you know, performance, your professional life, growth in your professional life is always preceded by personal growth. So that's what that event is going to be about. And just watch for more details later on that.
Okay. Awesome. 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 So let's see. I know we had a few questions rolling here in the chat room.
Okay.
Jeff said, can you talk about race corrales, i.e. you don't have to be bullet fast to enter?
Yes, race corrals. Okay. So if you've ever had a dream of doing the New York City Marathon, I entered through what's called the 9+1 program. Go to nyrr.org, NewYorkRoadrunners.org, and look up 9+1. So what that means is in the preceding year, you run 9 marathon qualifying scored races. They have to say that when you sign up for it. And they can vary in distance from 4 miles to half marathons. And your +1 is a volunteer event, or you donate $1,000 and you will get a guaranteed slot into the next year. And that's how I've been able to enter and run the marathon. This will be my 3rd year through the 9+1 program. So it doesn't mean that you have to be some wicked fast person to do it. I am a back of the packer, corral. I'm in wave 4. Wave 4 starts at 10 a.m. So Margaret, we got to time what time I'll be going by where you're going to be and everyone else. So I'm telling you that because what matters is that you show up for you and that you finish your race.
Okay. Awesome. Guadalupe got lots of shout outs on here from Martine and Jennifer. Martin says, love always wins. And
Yes.
he has a question. Christina, if you could give 1 or 2 pieces of advice to a young Christina, what would that be?
I would tell her to believe in herself. The younger version, because I guess I would listen and buy into other people's nonsense and their own limiting beliefs and fears of why you couldn't do this or that. I would tell her, believe in yourself because you are a remarkable spirit of light, and what you do will succeed. So just do it. And the second thing I would tell little Christina is keep laughing because you have a laughter that is contagious, and more people need to laugh in this world. And I think, I'm not going to say, some people would say worry less, party more. I don't think I worried a lot as a kid. I had my mother. I outsourced the worrying to Guadalupe. She was good at that. The third thing I would say is, and here's the big one, Martin. And Martin, I love you. Happy birthday. Okay, so today is Martin's birthday, everyone, in case you haven't figured that one out yet.
Oh, okay.
And I want to do a special song, right? Martin. Okay, Martin, this is what I would tell little Christina. I would say to her, it doesn't matter, Christina, that you're just raised by a single mom and that your father's not around. It doesn't mean that you're any less than. It doesn't mean that you are not loved enough. All of those are lies. And the truth of who you are is that you are a powerful, magnificent, smart, brilliant, funny, adventurous, bright, powerful little girl who is here to light this world on fire and inspire millions of people throughout the world. So hop to it. Go do your next adventure. Thank you, Martin. And can I just do a real quick, because I wanted to do this and I had no idea. Can I steal a quick moment from Martin?
Sure.
Okay, so Martin.
Anything from
okay,
he says thank you, by the way.
Okay, so in Mexico we do the mañanitas, which is how we sing happy birthday. So I'm going to sing you las mañanitas. Estas son las mañanitas que cantaba el rey David. Hoy por ser día de tu santo, te las cantamos a ti. Despierta, Martín, despierta, mira que ya amaneció, ya los pajarillos cantan, la luna ya se metió. El día en que tú naciste, nacieron todas las flores, y en la pila del bautismo cantaron los ruiseñores. Ya viene amaneciendo, ya la luz del día nos dio. Levántate de mañana, mira que ya amaneció. Martín, te quiero con toda mi alma y mi corazón. Te deseo un muy feliz cumpleaños. I love you. I wish you the best of everything in life. And I can't wait to do another race with you and Ryan. Mwah.
Oh, I got chills just from that. Wow, that was really special. Happy birthday, Martin. Feliz cumpleaños. So let's see. Okay, where was I? So that was March. Jeff said, can you talk about the difference between Tony Robbins firewalking and Mike A?
Okay, all right. So Mike Agugliaro, otherwise known as the Ninja Warrior, Look up his website. I'm going to give him a shout out, secretsofbusinessmastery.com. All right. So when Mike does empowerments, and he is also I don't know, he's got, I don't know how many black belts, but he has got a dojo, and he's a warrior in many, many, many ways. When I've done power walks, fire walks, and they are power walks, right? Pun intended, facilitated by Mike. It's a different energy. So, when you're with Tony Robbins, Tony teaches us this thing about cool moss, right? And like, you got to get all, whoa, I saw people pumping their chest and, like, rah, okay? Because I think that's a compressed way to get 7,000 people to move past their nonsense and, go, okay, I can do this, right? Mike's approach to firewalking is completely different. And I believe it's a more spiritual approach. And it's also, from a martial artist perspective, a more grounding approach, in that my firewalks have always been, quiet or chanting. And they've been very, reflective of what we've done, prior to the firewalk and the barriers that we've, cut through. I do want to show something. The last event I was with Mike, we broke through an arrow. I don't know if anyone can see this, but here was my arrow shattered in pieces. And he has, when you firewalk with Mike, you don't need cool moss. Okay. Okay. So, by the way, he did train with Tolly Birkin, who is the one that also taught Tony Robbins. But you don't need all that external stuff, because you're completely grounded internally, and it's a quiet internal strength. And if you ever have the opportunity to firewalk with Mike and Jennifer, and their two beautiful children, Caitlin and Michael, man, if I were you, I would jump on that thing. There it is. Any other questions?
Yeah, there's a couple more. So Mike is on. He's under Jennifer's profile, and he said, hi, it's the warrior, in parentheses, yes. Mike. And he said, I love you and what you're doing. Of course I'm watching. Tolly Birkin?
Yes, Tolly Birkin.
Okay. And Martin says, or Martin, I don't think I ever heard Las Mañanitas fully. Loved it.
That's how we serenade in Mexico. They bring you mariachis, and that's what they sing to you on your birthday, Martin. So there was a true Mexican serenade for you.
Okay. And let's see. I think Jeff had one more question about the fire walking. Jennifer says, thank you for being real and authentic. Amy says, Christina, hello and much love from your new Minnesota friends. Do you have a few favorite books?
Favorite books?
To share? Wow. Yeah, that may have helped you on your journey.
Totally. Okay, so number one, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, otherwise known as Don Miguel Ruiz. Okay, that's a book that I embrace. I also, Money Master the Game is a book that I embrace. I embrace the book called This Thing Called You by Ernest Holmes. And it's a short read, okay, so kind of neat. I also like the book The Alchemist. So there's another short read. I also love, yes, I also love, oh my gosh, there's so many. I have books by Dr. Robert Rome on behavioral and personality styles. And I'm also going to put a shout out to my upcoming book. So stay tuned so you can read mine, because that's going to be on the top list. I like the book. It's a compilation. It's pretty big, by Christian Larson, who wrote The Optimist Creed. And I also like Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. That's powerful. And gosh, there's so many that are floating in my mind, and I think those are the ones that are the ones that need to be said right now. I'd be happy if you want me to give you other recommendations, and if you can put them up later, I'd be happy to give you kind of like my top list of books that I love.
Okay. And I know there was, Jeff, can you talk about fire walking as it relates to connecting with nature?
Right. Okay. So, love versus fear, right? People, right now we're in a place where people get really stressed out and they forget to walk and be outside in nature. And when you walk a fire, it doesn't matter if you're walking it in someone's backyard or in the wilderness or underneath a parking garage in the Meadowlands, okay? You're connecting with nature because fire is an element of nature. And uh, the ability to connect with nature is also very spiritual. I think, when people ask me, like, where is my church? I go outside and I say, look around. My church is in the trees. My church is in the trails. My church is in the mountains and the streams and the ocean. And I think that when you walk fire, you are in the element of nature. And I mean, take a look around. There's something that created this beauty, and that same power lies within you. The power of the fire, Mike teaches us to say, ice cold fire, ice cold fire. And it's a connection that a friend of mine said, you shouldn't tell people what to do because nobody likes to be told what to do. But here's what I'm going to say to you. Screw that. If you don't go outside in nature, you're totally missing out. You're missing the beauty of this greater part of life. So those are my 2 cents on nature and fire walking. Thanks for the questions.
Okay, so we are about to close off, but before we go, a few fun facts about Miss Christina. Christina, what's your favorite app?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that question. Like, oh. So I've been thinking about this, right? And I'm going to, scroll through my phone. So I'm going to, my favorite app. Okay. From a utilitarian purpose, I like Find a Friend when we're doing marathons and running because I can look you up and see where you are, right? And then I can cheer for you. So I like Find a Friend. I also love Shazam because I'm not very good at knowing titles to songs. And I could just, boop, pop it and it tells me what the song is and I don't have to, figure it out on my own. And I also have a bunch of little apps from Doreen Virtue. They're my angel cards. And I go for inspiration and then it gives me an inspirational message. In fact, I'm going to do one with you right now from, if you don't mind. You asked me the question, right? This is from Archangel Michael. I believe in angels in a huge way. So I'm going to pick one for everybody. And this is the card that shows up for us tonight. It is, wow. You're not going to believe this. Can you see this?
Go forward fearlessly. Yes.
That is the card. So it says, thank you for walking with me every step of the way, for holding my hand, giving me confidence and courage, and guiding my thoughts and actions in the direction of love and my true life's purpose. And then it says, this card is a sign that you're on the right path and that it's safe for you to move forward with your plans, as long as you hold intentions that are focused on your heart's desire. Your steps will be automatically poised in the right direction. Right now, it's important for you to take action, no matter how small or seemingly inconsequential, toward your desired outcome. Ask Archangel Michael for guidance by saying, please show me the next step, and he'll come to your aid. And all the while, he'll also be protecting and supporting you through these significant life changes. So go forward fearlessly, people. That's probably my number one favorite app.
That's powerful. And that's for everyone on this call tonight, because you said that's hard for all of us.
Yes.
Thank you. And I just can't think of a more beautiful way to end this session than with that message. But before we go, the one thing that I normally do, 3 action steps that you can give people in the audience, our viewers, right now, that they can implement in their life right now.
Okay, ready? Everybody has to assume runner's position. Ready? Ready? Here we go. Ready, set, go. Number 1, Recognize you are the voice. Okay. Tony Robbins tells us you are the voice. So whatever committee has been talking in your head, tell it to shut the F up. You didn't invite it. You are the voice. So your action step number 1 is to remind yourself that whenever you feel the doubt, ask yourself, whose voice is this? Is this my mother's, my so-and-so's? Because it's probably not my voice, okay? So number 1. Step number 2, action point number 2 is embrace your fear. The acronym I gave a few earlier, false evidence appearing real. Embrace this one, face everything and rise. Face everything and rise. And I would encourage you, you know, I'm a little kind of over the top, but how about you do something maybe once a week that you're afraid of doing. If you do that, you will have 52 new things that you've pushed through the fear and you've broken the fear. So that's my second action point. And the third one would be find your tribe. Find your tribe. Make a list of the attributes of people that you love to be around and what kind of energy you love, and put it out to the universe. My tribe is Young Living. My family, my tribe is UPW. And if you're watching and you're from UPW, I want you to know that I prayed for you. I prayed for you. I prayed that the universe, God, Spirit would show me people who were as intense and passionate about living life as I am, and that were willing to do something about that and take life changes. And so find your tribe. So let me just recap. Number 1, you are the voice. Number 2, embrace your fear. And number 3, find your tribe. And you can find me, by the way, on Twitter at Christina INTL, which is short for international. You can also find me on Facebook, Christina Sky Diva. And I'll tell Margaret where else you can find me, but it's important that you're supported by people that support you and are going places, because you will become a reflection of the 5 people closest to you. So are those action points? Action enough?
Yes, they are.
Awesome.
Yes,
Okay.
they are. And
We can cross the finish line.
implementing. Yes, we can. And for everyone out there, I also inserted the 3 offers in the chat box. So there's a free 30-minute session with Christina, and you can hang out, HANGOUT, at risingabovellc.com. So that's hangout, HANGOUT, at rising, RISING, above, ABOVELLC.com. And the other 2 offers, save the date, November 14th, the Phoenix Transformation Leadership Endurance Essentials live event in New Jersey. Special promo code Margaret, that's MARGARET, hangout, HANGOUT. You save 10%. And then September 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, High Performance Tools for Endurance Athletes, the webinar. And you can contact Christina at hangout@riseabovellc.com for more information. Christina, it was an honor and a pleasure. You are one of my biggest female role models and an inspiration. And I have to share this before we go. I know we ran over, but you know, I remember, I think it was like the first time I spoke to you on the phone. And, you know, I asked you, I said, how come you're just like this ball of energy? How come you're doing all of this? You know, what's your drive? And what made you do this was what I asked. And you said, one word, divorce. And I was like, wow, okay. And then we started talking about something else. And you were like, Kilimanjaro. I'm climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. You want to go? Let's go. I'm planning a trip next year. And I was on the other line like, isn't that in Africa? Like, wouldn't that be dangerous? You know, but you were just like action, and I could see it, and I loved it. And I was like, this woman, I have to be in her tribe, you know, because that's such amazing energy. And I prayed for you, and you entered into my life. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank you for the opportunity of being able to interview you and share your story, share your energy, share your love, with everyone, with anyone who sees this. I'm sure that there's something that they can take away. And I thank you for honoring you and for choosing to love you and show up for you. You are an amazing human being with an
Thank you.
amazing mom. And I love you. And thank you.
I love you. Can I say one more thing? I just realized that I didn't put this in, so I would be doing you all a disservice, but I shared with you the tools, right? So I got one more website reference for you. Sky, S-K-Y, like the sky. Diva, D-I-V, like Victor, A, skydivawellness.com. skydivawellness.com. And if you could type that up in your box over there, that's where you can reach me for my tools. And I just want to say, Margaret, that you are my sister, and thank you for showing up in Secaucus. And I'm so, so happy about our journey, and I can hardly wait for the other beautiful things that are to come. And thank you for stepping into your shining light and for coming from a place of love. And thank everyone that just for hanging out with us today. You facilitated your wonderful host, and this was a beautiful evening with you. I love you, and thank you for being you.
Thank you. And I want to thank everyone who showed up. Thank you. Thank you all, and have an amazing night. Thank you. Good night,
Bye,
everyone.
Good night.